The bus wound its way through the mist-shrouded hills of Guizhou province, its old engine coughing against the incline. Kai pressed his forehead against the cold glass, watching terraces of yellowed rice fade into the fog. He was 27, a documentary filmmaker from Chengdu, drawn to the strange story of a remote mountain village said to be haunted by the drums of the dead. Daxi, the driver said, pointing at a weathered wooden sign barely visible through the rain. Last stop. No one goes past here after sunset. Kai nodded, pretending not to notice the driver's glance, half warning, half pity. He slung his backpack over his shoulder and stepped into the wet air. The silence of the mountain pressed down immediately. No birds, no crickets, only the faint smell of damp earth and burning pine. The village appeared suddenly out of the fog. Crooked wooden houses, red lanterns faded to brown, and a half-collapsed temple perched at the edge of a ravine. An old woman sweeping her doorstep looked up as he passed. "You shouldn't stay long," she said softly, not meeting his eyes. He found lodging in an empty guest house run by a man named One, who spoke little but smiled too much. "You came to see the festival?" One asked, handing him a cup of bitter tea. Kai frowned. "Festival? The Ghost Drum Festival. Happens every 10 years. Tonight, actually." Wen's tone made it sound both sacred and forbidden. "It honors those who died before their time. You're lucky. Most outsiders never see it." As night fell, Kai unpacked his camera and notebook. He wanted real stories. No ghosts, no legends, just rural tradition. Yet when the first low drumbeat rolled through the fog around midnight, his hand froze on the pen. It wasn't like a normal drum. It was slower, deeper, like a heartbeat echoing through the valley. He stepped outside, his breath forming clouds in the cold air. The streets were empty, but the sound grew louder, pulsing from the direction of the temple. Lanterns flickered to life one by one as if stirred by unseen hands. Kai followed the rhythm up the narrow path, boots slipping on the wet stone. The fog thickened until he could barely see his own feet. Then another beat, and another. At the temple entrance, shadowy figures in white robes circled a fire. They were striking massive drums with bare hands, leaving red smears across the skin. The firelight revealed faces hidden behind paper masks, each painted with a different expression of grief. Kai raised his camera, but as soon as he clicked the shutter, the drumming stopped. All heads turned toward him. For a moment, no one moved. Then one masked figure stepped forward, voice trembling but firm. "You should not be here." "I'm just documenting," Kai stammered. "For a film, about local traditions." The figure tilted its head. "This is not tradition. It is debt." Before Kai could ask what that meant, the wind rose, snuffing out the fire. The drums rolled once more, louder than before, shaking the wooden beams. In the sudden dark, Kai saw movement, shapes where there should have been none. He turned and ran down the mountain, the echo of the drums chasing him all the way back to the village. When he reached his guest house, one was waiting at the door, pale as chalk. "You heard them, didn't you?" One whispered. "They know your name now." Kai barely slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw those masked faces and the blood-red smears on the drums. The valley was silent by dawn, except for a distant drip of melting snow. He packed his gear, ready to leave, but one blocked the door. "The bus doesn't come today," he said. "Roads closed from the storm." "I can walk," Kai insisted. Wen's hand trembled as he poured another cup of tea. "You can try. But the mountain doesn't let go so easily." Ignoring him, Kai started down the narrow road that led out of Daxi. Fog clung to the trees like spider webs. After an hour, the path simply ended, swallowed by a landslide of mud and rock. There was no way through. When he returned to the village, something felt off. The few people he saw a day earlier were gone. Windows were shuttered, doors barred. Only that old woman from before remained, standing near the well. "You saw the drummers," she said without looking up. "Then you will hear them again." "Who are they?" Kai asked. "Not who. What. The ones who died unjustly. Miners, soldiers, children. They drum until someone listens." Kai tried to laugh it off, but the way she said it, flat, resigned, made his skin crawl. He went back to his room, reviewing the footage on his camera. The video of the ceremony had recorded perfectly until the moment the fire went out. Then, static. When the image cleared, it showed the same scene, but empty. No drummers, no fire, no Kai. Just the temple, silent and abandoned. The timestamp was correct. The footage was impossible. By nightfall, the drums began again. Fainter this time, like they were beneath the earth. When knocked on his door, eyes wide. "Don't answer if they call your name," he said. Kai tried to question him, but when only whispered, "They take one every festival." The drumming grew louder, joined by a low hum that seemed to vibrate through the floorboards. The lantern outside flickered violently. Then a voice, his own voice, echoed from the courtyard. "Kai, come film this." He froze. It was unmistakably his tone, his cadence. When he peeked through the window, a figure stood in the fog, his exact shape, holding a camera. The reflection of the lens gleamed faintly red. Kai stumbled backward, heart pounding, when shoved a wooden talisman into his hand. "Don't look. Don't follow. Stay inside until dawn." He sat there all night, clutching the talisman, listening as his voice circled the guest house, knocking gently, calling in that calm, familiar tone. When the first rays of morning broke, the knocking stopped. One was gone. His bed, untouched. His shoes still by the door. Only one new thing remained, muddy footprints leading from the door to Kai's bedside, and back out again. By the third day, Kai was losing his grip. His phone had no signal. His GPS showed blank white space where Doshi should be. The villagers still hid indoors, refusing to answer his knocking. Desperate for answers, Kai hiked back toward the temple. He found fresh offerings, bowls of rice, paper money, even a child's toy, placed on the steps. The air inside was colder than outside, and the faint smell of iron hung heavy. Behind the altar, a door half buried in rubble led to a tunnel. The walls were blackened by soot. Kai's flashlight flickered as he stepped inside. The passage sloped downward. He realized it wasn't just part of the temple. It was a collapsed mine. Wen's words came back to him. They take one every festival. Far below, he heard the drums again, soft and rhythmic, like breathing. The tunnel opened into a cavern filled with rotting beams and abandoned tools. At the center stood a row of drums, real ones, old and cracked, covered in dried brown stains. Each bore a name carved into its surface. When Kai leaned closer, he saw his own name freshly etched into one of them. He dropped the camera. It hit the ground with a hollow thud, echoing through the cavern. The air seemed to shift, as if the mountain itself exhaled. Then he heard voices, dozens of them, whispering his name in unison. He ran, stumbling through the darkness, tripping over roots and debris. When he reached the temple door, dawn had already broken. His camera was gone. Back in the village, the old woman waited. "You went below," she said. "Then it's too late." "What's down there?" Kai demanded. The miners, she said simply. They died when the mine collapsed 50 years ago. The officials blamed the villagers. To appease the spirits, every 10 years, we offer one living name. Kai's mouth went dry. Was he supposed to? She shook her head. He was marked last time. He survived, so the drums come back stronger. They won't stop until they're paid. Kai didn't believe in curses. He didn't believe in anything he couldn't explain, but when he looked down at his hands, his fingernails were rimmed with dirt, as if he'd been digging all night. That evening, he tried to flee again, hiking along the ridge until night fell. The fog closed in thick as smoke. He kept walking, following what he thought was the road. Then he saw light ahead, a lantern swinging gently, when stood beneath a dead pine, smiling that same eerie smile. "You shouldn't have run," he said softly. "They follow footsteps now." "Where did you go?" Kai asked. "I didn't go anywhere," one replied. His eyes glowed faintly red in the mist. "I'm still where you found me." The drumbeat began again, closer than ever, vibrating through Kai's ribs. He turned to run, but the fog moved before he did, swallowing the road, the lantern, the man. Only the sound of the drums remained, like a pulse deep under his feet. 3 days later, a rescue team reached Daxi after a landslide alert. They found no trace of Kai, only his broken camera at the temple entrance. The local authorities dismissed it as an accident, another tourist lost in bad weather. But one officer, a young woman named Lu, reviewed the footage before sealing it away. The video began normally, Kai interviewing villagers, recording the fog entering the temple. Then it shifted. At first, the audio picked up nothing but static. Then came a faint drumbeat, irregular and slow. In the frame, Kai appeared again, but his movements were wrong. His head tilted unnaturally, eyes wide as if listening to something far away. He mouthed words the mic couldn't catch. Lu turned up the volume. Beneath the static, a whisper formed, a chorus of overlapping voices repeating one word, "Det." The next clip showed the mine tunnel. The light flickered, then steadied. Kai's hand held the camera as he traced names on the drum skins. The last name he touched was his own. The image glitched, looping that gesture over and over, each time darker, the air thicker. Finally, the feed cut to black. Then came a single frame, just one, but Lu paused it. The timestamp showed 2 days after Kai vanished. The image showed the same cavern, only now every drum was freshly cleaned. The dirt on the floor was undisturbed, except for one new set of footprints leading toward the exit. When she zoomed in, she saw that the footprints stopped just before the camera, as if the person had stepped into the lens itself. That night, Officer Lu dreamed of the same drumbeat. It echoed faintly through her apartment walls, low and steady. She woke up to find her hands covered in fine grey dust. She dismissed it as imagination until she received a sealed package 2 days later. No return address, just a name scrawled in neat handwriting. Inside was a memory card. When she loaded it, the same video began to play, but this time, after the black screen, a new clip appeared. The footage showed the temple, daylight pouring through the open doors. A man stood by the altar, back turned to the camera. When he looked up, it was Kai, alive, or something like him. His eyes were dull grey, and his skin looked ashen, dust clinging to his hair. "I finished the film," he said quietly. "Now it's yours." Then, slowly, the image panned toward the drums. There were more now, dozens of them, each smoother, each bearing a new name freshly carved. The last one was Lu Mei. The camera tilted down, revealing a single lantern burning beside a small pile of her own police files. The feed cut off abruptly. Outside her window, in the grey haze of dawn, Lou thought she heard the faintest echo of a drum, slow, patient, and steady. Somewhere deep in the mountains of Guizhou, the mist rolled once more through Daxi Village, and in the valley below, the heartbeat of the mountain resumed, one name at a time.